Islam. Yes. Well, I have a friend that I met here in BC that was working, and he's from Mexico. And he was having some issues with the government, and they deported him. But as he had 3 days before he was deported, and I tried counseling him and comforting him and giving him a safe place to be. And he told me about the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and the fact that we are all Moors, and the fact that he discovered this information while he was in California watching a confrontation between the Los Angeles Police Department and another individual who happened to be a Moor. He was being abused and assaulted. And there was another man in the crowd that told my friend from Mexico, we need to get out of here because, none of this is going to work for us. When we can't fight, we can't do anything with help the police with the crowds and stuff like that. And he explained to my friend about the Prophet, and everything started to snowball from there. The news went from all the way from California, all the way up to British Columbia, into my world, and then I ended up running into some information and seeing your videos and sending you an email.
Now
explaining to you.
You're right. What did your Mexican, so-called Mexican, because we know if he knows about Noble Drew Ali, we know he's a Moor. So
that's what he said.
Yeah. So what did he relay to you in the time that he got to tell you about this? Like, what was his message to you with regard to Noble Drew Ali, Moors, and then his connection to it being quote unquote Mexican?
It was a very, very fast amount of information in a short amount of time. And it started off with, he was thanking me, and he said, did you know that the reason that we're here is because the universe wanted us to be together, and that you were intended to help me because we're all brothers? And I said, yes, of course we are. He said, no, you don't understand. We really are all brothers. And he said, there's a man, and he pulled out a book, and it was it's had a 7 on it, and it said the Quran, and it looked like a homemade printed book, but it was I don't know where he got it, but it was a prophet's book, and he said, this is the book that I've been studying, and the information that you're being lied to. You don't understand who you are. You don't understand where you're from. You don't understand your nationality. And I think that's why they deported him, because he still had months to go on his work visa. But something changed, and he was being yanked out of the world that he knew and sent back to his homeland, which was heartbreaking, really, because the amount of information that he had. The personality that he had was one of the kind of man that would share the knowledge without looking at you like, I don't like you because your clothes are dirty. I don't like you because you didn't shave. Mm-hmm. He didn't care. He had such a golden heart that I didn't know the man that well, but something made him drawn to me. And the information he gave about the nationalities, how the programming and the indoctrination that we've all gone through blew my mind, because he was only in his 30s and I'm in my mid-50s. Yeah. I couldn't believe the amount of information that he was giving me. But the thing was, is everything he said fell right into place.
Yeah, resonated with you.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It froze my beliefs and let me reject the lies.
Peter Moon. And we're going to be going to chapter 58, entitled The Ali Shuffle. And I'm going to be reading from page 418. When the Moorish science reached its peak in 1929, it was on the heels of the greatest but most dangerous discoveries Drew Ali ever made. In 1928, Ali attended a Pan American conference in Havana, Cuba, where he enjoyed broad recognition from a host of other countries. They were, of course, recognizing his sovereign status as a Moorish national who was representing the ancient empire of Amexem. Let me read that sentence one more time. They were, of course, recognizing his sovereign status as a Moorish national who was representing the ancient empire of Amexem. I wanted to highlight that sentence just to clarify the difference between the so-called sovereign citizen movement that is being propagated by the U.S. government and its media, the corporately controlled mainstream quote-unquote media. There's been a lot of press lately propagating the idea of the sovereign citizen movement and attaching itself to the Moorish Divine and National movement, attaching itself to the Moor Science Temple of America and Moorish Americans. And to clarify, we are not. We never have been, we never will be sovereign citizens, nor are we associated with the sovereign citizen movement. We teach nationality, law. Our status is sovereign as Moorish nationals in our own homeland, which is the ancient empire of Amexem. Let me continue. Keep in mind that other countries had no reason to fear Jew Ali or what he represented. It was at this conference, however, that he received a document that was to change the face of the Moor Science Temple of America forever, and would eventually lead to what is known as the Great Schism. That is the name the Moorish community uses to refer to the dispersal of Moor science into different groups. The document Drew Ali received was a copy of a mandate whereby the Amexem Empire extended a land grant of the entire Western Hemisphere to certain Europeans. I have not yet seen the document, and its exact contents are highly mysterious, yet its ramifications literally turn the United States of America upside down. Essentially, it leased America to a certain party for a particular number of years, not unlike the way China leased Hong Kong to Great Britain. The lease was up in 2004. It is entirely reasonable to believe that such a document, if it still exists and can be brought to light, is a mere relic of a long forgotten era that has no significant meaning in today's legal system. And that would be fine, except for one very important point. If you truly studied the detailed legal history of the United States of America, you would understand that there is more than a little truth to the prospect of there being such a document. Why? The entire legal history of the United States is predicated on such a proposition. What is known is that Secretary of State Hughes from the U.S. government attended the Pan American Conference and was made privy of this mandate. So were several other heads of state. As a result, a closed-door conference between several nations was held in Geneva, Switzerland. An elaborate series of discussions and negotiations began. The Geneva conferences went on for some 5 years, but the records are still kept sealed to this very day. It is known that several international banks called in their loans as a result of this potential legal threat, and the stock market crashed in 1929. Let me read that one more time. It is known that several international banks called in their loans as a result of this potential legal threat, and the stock market crashed in 1929.
Islam. So I tried to be on a live the other night, and it didn't quite work out. But what the brother was speaking about was how people in these days and times, they'll make books or they'll make literature speaking of Noble Drew Ali, but they'll identify him as African American, or the Moor Science Temple was a black group when they they put out information specifically saying that they was not Negro, black, or colored, or African American. So what came to mind when the brothers was talking about that is this pamphlet that came out in 1923 from the Ahmadiyya movement, and it says that they was located on Wabash Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, and that's the same area where Noble Drew Ali was at the time. So while Noble Drew Ali was putting out his literature and bringing his brothers in, he was letting them know that they was not Negroes, and he was also teaching them that they was already home. However, at the same time, this pamphlet was coming out where the Ahmadiyya was attempting to bring Moors into their movement, but still identifying them as Negroes. So this is the true salvation of the American Negro, the real solution of the Negro question. My dear American Negro, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you and the mercy of Allah. The Christian profiteers brought you out of your native lands of Africa, and in Christianizing you, made you forget the religion and language of your forefather, which were Islam and Arabic. You have experienced Christianity for so many years, and it has proved to be no good. It is a failure. Christianity cannot bring real brotherhood to the nations, so now leave it alone and join Islam, the real faith of universal brotherhood. We have opened a school of Islam and the Arabic language. Join Islam in the Ahmadiyya movement founded by Ahmad of India, the prophet of the day, and be blessed. For further information, address all letters to Ahmadiyya movement. So, say there was a Moor walking down the street and they don't know who they are. They're identifying themselves as Negro. And say they hit this Ahmadiyya movement and decided to walk in before they went to walk into the Moorish Science Temple or the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. If the brother walks into this building, they was going to be taught that they was still Negroes, and they was going to be taught that they was brought out of their native lands of Africa, as if they was in a foreign land now. So they wouldn't have been taught that they was home, and they wouldn't have been taught of their nationality. Again, how would Noble Drew Ali feel about this? Was they putting this out in the pamphlet because they didn't have the superior knowledge? Or did they put this out to counter what Noble Drew Ali was doing?
Several countries, which included the United States, Portugal, France, and Spain, declared bankruptcy in order that relevant powers could buffer themselves from any potential legal claims. In the case of the United States of America, it was reorganized with a new corporate legal status. Franklin Roosevelt was part and parcel, Morris, of the entire plan when he abolished the gold standard and created the New Deal. Federal Reserve notes were then issued in place of gold-backed currency. The Great Seal of the Moors was used on the back of the notes. Then I'm also going to read the appendix. Amazing information. You gotta read the rest of this book here. A man knows not by being told. A wise man once taught. Let's see here. Okay, Appendix A on page 449. Any understanding of the Moorish Science Temple requires an understanding of its founder, Timothy Drew, born in North Carolina to the parents of a former quote-unquote slave father and a Cherokee mother. Losing his parents at an early age, Drew Ali went to Egypt either as a merchant seaman or in some other capacity, and was surprisingly met by a group of wise men, or mystery school representatives, who were expecting him. Taking him to the Great Pyramid, they blindfolded him and took him to the king's chamber, where he is told to find his way out. This is an ancient initiation in which the individual is left to sink or swim. It can, of course, result in death. Eventually, his sponsors found him, quite alive, between the paws of the Sphinx. He was found worthy and commissioned with a new mission, to revive the Moorish Empire and teach the displaced Moorish people about their lost heritage. Timothy Drew was given the name of Prophet Abdul Sharif Ali, which was then converted to Noble Drew Ali for his English-speaking American brethren. The Moorish Science Temple emerged in 1913 when Noble Drew Ali received a charter from Woodrow Wilson to teach the displaced Moorish nationals the truth about their heritage. It was said that Drew Ali was also able to retrieve the original Moroccan flag from a White House safe. It was the flag of the Societas Republicae y Al-Marrocanos, which translates either to the Al-Moroccan Republic Society or We the People of the United States of America. Al-Morrocanos was the colloquial name for the Americas prior to European colonization, and the entire two continents were once considered to be a part of a Mexam, the name of the ancient Moorish Empire which waved the flag of Morocco. As the flag that Drew Ali retrieved was primarily red, it was always known as the cherry tree. Morocco was not coincidentally the first nation to sign a treaty with the United States of America. The Sultan of Morocco had sued for peace because the colonists had enslaved a considerable number of citizens from his empire. When the United States did not respond, the Sultan's men kidnapped American citizens until the treaty could be worked out. As a result, any person of any color, including slaves, could go to the government and proclaim themselves a free Moor. This was by treaty and assured by the principles and customs of international law and recognized diplomacy. The problem, however, was that neither George Washington nor his colleagues did anything significant to make this known. Instead, they obscured the truth. For this reason, George Washington earned the most famous and satirical yarn that was ever told about him, that he could not lie because it was true that he had chopped down the cherry tree. This satirical yarn, told in the truest tradition of the Moorish bards, which are the source of the flamenco and much gypsy culture, including Carnival, was referring to the fact that George Washington had sold out the Moorish culture and all of its citizens. Further down, Drew Ali began to promulgate Moorish science and was far more successful than anyone could imagine. Although Drew Ali has a very thick FBI file, historians have made a gallant effort to remove any trace memory of him from the history books. Not surprisingly, the FBI has not released all of the information they collected on Drew Ali. It is also a matter of public record that the FBI bird-dogged the movements of the Moorish Science Temple of America very closely. In 1929, Moorish science had undergone a huge renaissance, that this new movement was to experience a horrendous version of Armageddon. Different people within his own brethren tried to seize the considerable power, including financial accounts that Drew Ali had accrued. Violence broke out and the police became involved. As a result, Drew Ali spent several days in jail and was questioned. Some say under harsh and torturous conditions. The latter has not been confirmed. I mean, we know the so-called police, we know they treat us with the utmost respect, right? Let me continue. Throughout the ordeal, Ali directed his disciples to be kind and non-violent. Although he was reported dead, history has offered no evidence of a funeral or gravesite. His death is shrouded in mystery. And in the wake of Drew Ali's death, the character who inherited the so-called windfall of this quote-unquote black Muslim movement was Wally Fard, an equally mysterious character who also accrued a huge and sometimes very, very puzzling, if not contradictory, FBI file. Wally Fard was not quote-unquote black, but is well known for using the term white devil. Before agreeing with the FBI to remove himself from this new movement, he declared a young man by the name of Elijah Poole as his disciple and handed this new movement to him. Elijah Poole adopted the name of Elijah Muhammad and formed the Nation of Islam, which is the premier entity of what has become known as the Black Muslim movement in America. Alright, now we're going to close with a small reading from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, also known as the Holy Quran Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet, Drew Ali. Going to be reading from chapter 3, entitled Elihu's Lessons, the Unity of Life, and I'm going to be reading lines 5 through 8. There are two selves, the higher and lower self. The higher self is human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. The lower self, the carnal self, the body of desires, is a reflection of higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. The lower self is an illusion and will pass away. The higher self is Allah in man and will not pass away. Much love to you. If you're watching this, you're on the path. I don't want you to believe me. I don't want you to take what I say as opinion and run with it. Research it. Look it up. Seek the truth for yourself. For man knows not by being told. It ain't over till we win. Peace to Brother Kaba, Hiawatha Kamene, also known as Booker T. Coleman, Elder Master Teacher. Peace to Cujo Awa El. Peace to everybody that's active. And peace to those that are asleep. It's alright. You need to sleep. But when it's time you wake up, we'll get busy. With that said, I'll say the Moorish American prayer. We'll go ahead and end it today. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, Allah is our guide, and Allah is our salvation, by night and by day, through our holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Ashe. Allah.
Just give you real quick, all right? Different reference to snake, the 12, there's 7 major energy challenges, 12. The 7 chakras are actually 12 major energy points. They're called chakras, and chakra means circle of fire. Circle of fire. See snakes there, I'm just giving you statues here, a few snake. That's in Vietnam. Here. In Mexico, Temple of Quetzalcoatl. All right. This feather serpent. See what they're distorting? Look at this. Now look at this. Now, you don't see any reference of our cutting up a snake. We're not stepping on a snake. We're not throwing a snake. Look at it. Look what the Europeans see. Look at what they're doing. This is worldwide, y'all. There's only one culture, one world culture, one world system, one world government, one world civilization. So they distorted. They use. Now I'm going to go right into my other part. The Europeans have used the modern concept of race to divide and conquer, to divide the human family against each other. The modern concept of race, as you know it, was developed by Carl Linnaeus, Francois Bernard, and Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. Carl Linnaeus in 1750 was developed an official scientific classification whereby they classified the human family based on 4 constructs. Phenotype, facial structure, phenotype, P-H-E-N-O, type, phenotype, facial structure, skin tone, y'all familiar with that? Yes. Hair texture, and craniology or cranial size. We're familiar with what? See, Europeans don't like us because of my coworkers do this. See, we get mistreated. We get stopped by the cops because of, they don't like us because of, they do this, they lock us out of school because of, they do this because of, they put the hose on us because of this, they do this. That is a distorted concept. Here this man got control of our land, our government, our resources, and you saying, excuse my language, I get a rat's ass if they like us. If you were trying what are they obligated to? What are the treaty, Constitution, treaty obligations? That's how you talk. But in order for you to talk like that, you must be in the constitutional fold of government. You can't be classified as Negro, colored, black. And my brothers and sisters who are classified as Spanish are Moors. Moors. Puerto Ricans, they're Moors. And another word that they distorted. Help me out, y'all. Moor. Moros. Morenos. Mr. Bay, you can't say that? I said that in this classroom. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, Morenos. Moros. Mr. Bay, that's like calling somebody a nigger. But nigger is a good word, because naga, all right? Amore too. All right? But I did not know that it carried that connotated meaning. I had no idea that it carried that negative connotated meaning. I had no idea. That was a learning lesson for me. I did not know it had that connotated meaning. So there's just the sound shifts. Mortals, more. Understand that? So in order for you, if you're to hold the Europeans to constitutional treaty obligations, you must be in the constitutional fold of government. You cannot be classified as Negro, colored, black. Those that are outside the constitutional fold of government. Now, there's a case here, the Journals of House of Representatives, 1789-1790. The views of slaves, they're using slave connotatively. Slave is what? Slavic. Slave is an Eastern European nationality. It doesn't mean that now, it never stopped meaning that. An Eastern European nationality, you cannot. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible for you to be descendant of slaves. You can't change your bloodline, your ancestry, your lineage, descent, your consanguinity. You going to change that? That's biological. That's genetics. So you can't be changed. So you can't be a slave. So they use it connotatively. All right? How did that meaning come about, the modern distorted meaning, connotated meaning of slave? When the Russians conquered the Slavic people, the act of conquering the Slavic people became the connotated meaning. All right? The views of slaves and free blacks are rarely, all right, free blacks is an oxymoron. I'm reading, I didn't write this is the Journals of House of Representatives, 1789, 79, but I got a free black, when I say free, oxymoron, what I mean is that? Like bittersweet. Any more classified as black can't be free. So, because the brand black makes them, puts them in captivity. Not make them a slave, because slave is Slavic. The brand black puts them into European captivity, so they can't be free black. The views of slaves and free blacks are rarely found in the petitions. Blacks were often the subjects of petitions submitted by whites. We'll qualify that too. But in one unusual case, 4 former slaves petitioned the House for a clarification of their legal status. The ex-slaves Francis, Daniel, Hammett, and Samuel had been subject of the Emperor of Morocco when they were captured by an African king. They were delivered to a captain clerk on the promise that he would take them to England, where the Moroccan ambassador would ransom them. But instead, they were sold in South Carolina as slaves. Eventually, the 4 men purchased their own and their wives' freedom. They now wanted to be assured that if accused of a crime, they would be tried as subjects of a foreign nation by the Court of General Sessions rather than as free blacks by the magistrate and freeholder courts. The House decided that the men were citizens of Morocco and thus not subject to the laws governing free blacks. So you have same people, different statuses. So the laws that were governing Moors classified as black were the black codes and Negro Acts. Laws that governing these 4 Moors was the Constitution of South Carolina, constitutional law. So they were brought into the Constitution for the government. Remember, they had already purchased their freedom. So the mere purchasing of their freedom was not enough. They wanted what? A clarification of their legal status for the record. Thank you, brother. A petition was presented to the House from sundry free Moors, sundry means various, free Moors, subjects of the Emperor of Morocco and residents in this state, praying that in case they should commit any fault amenable to be brought to justice, that they as subjects to a prince in alliance with the United States of America may be tried under the same laws as the citizens of this state, South Carolina, would be liable to be tried, constitutional law, same laws, the constitutional law, and not Negro Act, and not under the Negro Act, which was received and read. So Constitution of South Carolina and the Negro Act were supposed to be both received and read. So 2 body of laws, Constitution of South Carolina, positive law, Negro Act, negative law. You have a negative status, black, Negro, colored, therefore you are outside the Constitution for the government. And as a result of that, their negative law applies. It's not this. It's not this. It's the status. So they pushed that. Carl Linnaeus, Francois Bernier, Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, birthright stealing paradigm, which they used throughout the world. But my brothers and sisters who are classified as Spanish and Puerto Rican understand nationality. They may not know that they're Moors, but they understand the principle of nationality.
Call it 949.
Can you hear me?
981. Yes, indeed.
Yes, I hear you. Hey, how you doing? My name is. I'm trying to find a way to proclaim nationality. I'm part of the Prince Hall Freemasonry, and I was trying to go out and see the civic side about it.
All right. Well, it starts with first knowing your name, right? Because as soon as you say my name is, right, yeah, the difference between a name and an appellation. Because as soon as you say my name is, already that's saying that you're Christian proper.
Mm-hmm.
So civilly, you will be considered European proper just off of that. That's just fundamental civics, because the meaning of words are the spirit of the law.
Islam. Oh, we're getting some feedback. If you could turn down your speaker a bit.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And second to what Brother Miz said, it's like you can't stress it enough that studying is paramount. You know what I mean? It seems, you know, or you know, people are iffy about studying, but like when you talk about you start getting into this information, it's just gonna happen to be, you know, 8 hours that you were sitting down studying. It's just gonna be that. You know what I mean? So we have to, people that are like yourself that are coming into this information, right? Now you're saying that you're Prince Hall, right?
Yeah, Prince Hall.
Now they're not giving you anything as far as information to redeem yourself.
Yeah.
Because I could bet you that the so-called brothers that are Europeans that you call Mason too, I bet you that their lodge looks better than yours.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But that's supposed to be your brothers though.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the reality. You know, it's nothing personal. It's that you're going into something that has nothing to do with you because you're more. You have superior knowledge.
And that's what I'm trying to learn how to change my status. You know what I mean? Trying to become a national person instead of being a naturalized person.
You were natural.
You want to touch that one, Nick?
Say again?
Islam, were you ever, like, did you ever participate in a actual act of being naturalized?
No.
All right. So, I mean, if you just look at nationality, I don't know what your references are like as far as law, but I know that, you know, in some aspect, I know they teach y'all about law. I know they do. So you already know to study nationality already, like, because that's the primitive foundation. Like it's the same Circle 7 philosophy and the 7 sciences to a certain extent. I don't know what personally you went through, but just altogether, the information is what keeps them in a superior or apparently an upper status than you. Because they give it in certain degrees when meanwhile it's already all out there. You just got to study. Like, that's the real truth. Like, the Prophet Noble Dali definitely brought it back. All the tools we use in the workshop of the mind, all of that. Same thing that's claimed to be used in said nation. That's more established nation, if you will. Because that's the fact, if you know. You know, so it's like all of those sciences are innately in us anyway. But you already know that it's an emphasis on studying law and start with nationality. No?
Islam.
Yeah.
Islam, pardon me.
Okay.
Yeah, so that.
And the other thing too is that if you're somewhat new to this information, you don't want to get this information and try stuff, see if it works.
Yeah, no,
because I'm not, man, like we were saying in the beginning, man is mind. So before it happens on the physical plane, it has to happen mentally. And that better be aligned with some chakras and spirits and, you know what I mean, other realms that exist too. Right? But you know, and that's somewhere that everybody can get to. But you have to study to get there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. You know? Yeah, indeed.
Right? That's why Drew Ali even said, you know, don't throw away the slave name. Because he's got a reason that you shouldn't throw it away, because he's going to use it. But really, you know, that's supposed to be a shroud that you use to, continue doing whatever you're doing, but in the background you're studying. And when it's time to nationalize it, when you get put on the spot, then you put it out. But you have to know for yourself. Because I self-law master. It's not Islam from the East. This is Islam high self-law master. So we have to be what we know. We could know it and not be it, but that's not going to be of any benefit to us if we know and don't be what we know.
They want you to be subjects of England.
You know what I mean? But like for example, like your lodge brothers who are Europeans, they know that you're the Ramabif that's in the shallow grave. That's you. That's not some story that they're just telling people or that they're keeping in the secret. Oh yeah, this is the story of how we found it, whatever. They're talking about you. The shallow grave in the north, that's here. That's you right now, waking up out of the grave yourself, digging yourself out of the grave like, hold on a second. Something's wrong with my status, because something's not right. You pulled yourself out of the grave. And they were supposed to do that for you.
Indeed. And I was just assuming, I'm not sure. Have you ever heard of RP Bay Publications before?
Yeah, I've been looking at that as a great source of information. I'm just want to know the process of starting the paperwork of it.
Okay, yeah, pardon me. I was under the assumption that you did already. But yeah, it starts, to be all honest, it starts mentally in the mind. But there's a lot of information on there. If you keep studying, you will get references that you need if you want to be your own active being, and that's your self-determination. I'm pretty sure it will lead you where you or not lead you, but show you what you already know.
Okay.
Honestly, so examine the writs and cross-references. It's a lot of information out there. But I also suggest that you study nationality in every aspect of it, the etymology, the lawful definition, everything. Just study everything you know about nationality. And then, because the question will be, what does it mean to you? Like, what does nationality or nationalization mean to you?
To me, man, I get back to my nation, my heritage, my bloodline.
Right. And you're not far from off, but there's so much that goes with that you also need to know. So I suggest, you have any law dictionaries?
No. I don't have none. I just recently came out the military, so yeah, I'm you know what I mean. So I gotta get that in my possession.
Right. Well, you gotta get your tools. You have to get your tools. Like it's a mental process of perception, so you have to have your tools to comprehend.
Woo! Hey, yo, Stevie, we got this. What more can I say? Much more, just listen. Spit like I'm pissing and elixir mixing. Moorish master MC Mike mysticism. Free minds locked in a cryptic prison. I saw penis, you homos, that's a sundial. No executive, let alone Ray Bay run the trial. Standing on the square, no diamond in the air with his hands. No paperwork costing him grands. No friend begging, just vamp chest pegging. At 3:30, upside down, circle 7 of the Nova cast. No hover mask on me. My Destiny's Child was Kelly Rowland, not B. Call her Beyonce, she was a bae once. Before you call it hate in your face, smoke from blunts filled with the maca. Not roll type, but proper in persona. Got 90% of minds in comas. Open up your mind, your third eye blind. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Open up your mind, your third eye blind. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes.
times I said it, still gotta say it. I don't spit on mics for radio to play it. Not looking to do shows cause new bros wanna hear rap, anything whack or pseudo. Tight shirt, skinny jeans, artists, nothing baggy. I pass most that rap, I'm the microphone cabbie. Niggas want Scooby snack tracks, I'm not shaggy. Only Moorish and 90s MCs make me happy. Build pyramids like Lodge Pro and Pappy. On the run eating cocoa bread and veggie patties. Thinking about what Taj Bey said about Ali. Fix misconceptions, distorted perceptions. Warped views have minds corkscrewed. Running from the sun but tan beds could force hues. Put a split in the illusion, quick and walk through. Put a split in the illusion, quick and talk through. Open up your mind, your third eye blind. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Open up your mind, your third eye blind. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. I talk to my ancestral celestial Moor crew. Bring back 90% mental space for you to exercise higher than electric wires. The self that's not lower, deceptive liars. Getting on microphones, spitting like retards. Lying like they got lines like runaway zebras. Got youths walking like they shit their trousers. Can't even run away acting like rebel rousers. High off the so-called weed, I call it bush and waste some money. No seeds, man, you a dummy. Smoking your life away, following dunce cap, whack rappers beefing over Biggie Blunt raps. On a bottleneck of liquor they always sucking, either with their boys or trannies with nuts tucked in. Hip-hop ain't old school, she's just a youngin'. Rap the preemie, stillborn gets all the loving. Thinking you got verses, save it for hearses. Commercial rap deathbed, I'm your night nurses. Pull the plug 1 and 2, not de la. No need to get mad, I'm just doing a favor. Open up your mind, your third eye blind. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Open up your mind, your third eye blind. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes. Rappers like truth in those darkness rhymes.